I'm no historian, but today I want to take a few lessons from the life of Marcus Garvey to remind us of our great heritage. On August 1, we marked 179 years since emancipation from enslavement. On the 6th, we celebrated 55 years of independence from colonial rule. Today, 16 days since our emancipation commemorations, we are celebrating the birthday of the Right Excellent Marcus Messiah Garvey, National Hero of Jamaica. What a twist of fate, ladies and gentlemen, that the stars should line up all of this in a row. To my left, Garvey's statue looms large, a reminder of his influence on the world stage, a reminder of his determination not just to uplift Black people, but to help us understand our innate power. Up, up, you mighty race. You can accomplish what you will. Today, I celebrate Marcus Garvey, the Jamaican who was born in this parish of St. Anne and became one of the greatest men the world has ever known. In true Jamaican style, Garvey showed that nothing is impossible, despite setbacks and opposition. He changed worldviews, challenged the status quo, and influenced a long line of leaders after him, including Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and Nelson Mandela. We celebrate Garvey today, the leader who taught us to love our Blackness. When Garvey came to realize that he was Black and what it meant to be Black at the time, he knew he had to do something about it. Black people across the world were made to feel that they were inferior to other races. They were taught to hate themselves and to wish they were white. And even today, we continue to bleach. But Garvey loved himself and he loved us. He was very proud of his pure Black blood. And it became his life's work to teach Black people the truth about ourselves. We are not and have never been inferior to any race. We are a beautiful, beautiful people with greatness in our DNA. Therefore, we must accept and love ourselves. And we must clap ourselves. We celebrate Marcus Garvey, the great man, not the perfect man. A man who was determined, self-confident, undaunted, fearless. A man who faced challenges, disappointments, and failures just like you and I, but who knew that a setback is really a setup for something greater. When his first newspaper, The Watchman, failed, he created another one, The Negro World. It was bigger and better and much more successful. It quickly grew from being a weekly into a worldwide phenomenon with a peak circulation of 200,000. But the circulation would have been even larger hadn't colonial authorities not banned it in many countries, including Belize, Trinidad, Guyana, Jamaica, and several African countries, out of fear for Garvey's message of love and hope to Black people. Despite those efforts to silence him, my brothers and sisters, Garvey, the boy from St. Anne's Bay, right here, still managed to create the largest Black organization in the world, the Universal Negro Improvement Association. Garvey formed the first UNIA division in New York in May 1917. Within a month, the organization had 2 million members all over the United States. By 1920, the UNIA had 1,100 chapters in 40 countries. By 1926, the membership of the UNIA had grown to over 11 million people. So young people in Jamaica today can scarcely imagine the world into which Marcus Messiah Garvey was born in 1887. Our people had fought for and won their emancipation, but it was still a racist world. Racism still exists today. We only need to look at the developments in Charlottesville. Despite the global improvement in race relations inspired by the message and teachings of great black leaders such as Marcus Garvey, there is still a lot of hate and still a lot of fear. However, we live in paradise compared to the world in which our ancestors, including Garvey, lived. So we owe it to them, we owe it to ourselves, we owe it to future generations to continue working for the upliftment of black people everywhere. The physical chains are broken, but many of our brothers and sisters are still in bondage. Even in Jamaica, we haven't yet achieved universal love of our black skin, our black hair, our beautiful black features. If we are not contributing to the upliftment and upbuilding of this noble race, then what is our purpose in life? I speak to you today to think on these things. So our mission is to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery, as Garvey preached. That must continue. As a country, we have done a number of things to honor this great son of Jamaica and to remove the blots against his name. As we know, he was convicted of mail fraud in the United States, a charge that was never fully articulated. When Ronald Reagan became the first American president to visit Jamaica while in office in 1983, then Prime Minister Edward Seaga asked that he pardon Garvey. It didn't happen. In 1987, U.S. Congressman Charles Rangel introduced a resolution to the House Subcommittee on Criminal Justice in the United States, calling for the exoneration of Garvey on mail fraud charges. It didn't happen. 2 years ago, when President Barack Obama visited Jamaica, former Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller asked him to consider the matter. It did not happen. Last year, Prime Minister Andrew Holness encouraged Jamaicans in the diaspora to sign an online petition to the White House calling for the exoneration of Garvey. That also failed. We have been dealing with this matter for more than 30 years, but like Garvey, we have steely determination, and so we will persist until his name is cleared. We believe that Garvey, and we know that Garvey is innocent, and that the trial and conviction were meant to tarnish his image and diminish his global movement. Therefore, we cannot give up this fight to clear his name. Today, I make a presentation of the transcripts of the mail fraud trial involving Garvey to the St. Anne Parish Library. This library has dedicated space to the study of Garvey, and we hope that students and citizens and visitors to St. Anne will take the time to go through the evidence and see if you believe, as I do, that the stain against Garvey's name must be removed. I've heard it said many times that Jamaica does not have any moral authority to ask the United States to clear Garvey's name because we haven't done the same here. That would be a good argument if it were true. After Garvey was deported from the United States, Garvey was jailed in Jamaica in 1929 for 3 months and fined £100 for contempt of court. Again, under the administration of Prime Minister Seaga in the 1980s, Garvey received a royal pardon by the Governor General at the request of Prime Minister Seaga. We understand the new arguments that are now being advanced, that a pardon suggests that the recipient did something wrong. So we continue to argue that Garvey's actions were not criminal, but were acts of liberation with moral justification. Under the circumstances, we are now finalizing a bill which should be brought to the House in October to absolve national heroes, including Garvey and other freedom fighters, from criminal liability arising from their acts of liberation and connected matters, which we believe were completely justified. By including Garvey in this bill, we are moving to ensure that his record will be totally cleared. I assure you that this government, under whose administration of 1962 to 1972, Garvey was named as Jamaica's first national hero, and his remains returned and reburied in Kingston, we are committed to protecting the good name and the legacy of Marcus Garvey, our national hero. And so, in this regard, I'm pleased to make the following announcements. As Minister of Culture, I have been, on behalf of the government, on behalf of the Wholeness Administration, has been in dialogue with the government of Namibia regarding Marcus Garvey. And the good news has come that the Cabinet of Namibia has granted approval for the city of Windhoek, the capital city, to rename their main street in honor of the Right Excellent Marcus Messiah Garvey. My brothers and sisters, that street happened to be called Babs Street. I am so honored and so happy. This ceremony will take place later this year, when we will take a delegation to Namibia for the renaming ceremony. And I look forward to my sister, Shahini Robinson, joining me on that visit to Namibia. I'm also in consultation with the ministers of local government and foreign affairs regarding a cooperation agreement between the cities of Windhoek and Kingston. I did bat I did bat for St. Anne's Bay. But I think what this is underscoring, that Marcus Garvey's global stature and influence continue to bring benefits, not just to the parish of St. Anne, but to all Jamaica. I'm also pleased today to update the nation on the government's plans to commemorate the life of Marcus Garvey at 32 Marcus Garvey Way, right here in St. Anne, where we are developing a living museum in honor of our first national hero. The Jamaica National Heritage Trust, as the lead agency, has been working assiduously to bring this to its final stage. But not only is the Jamaica National Heritage Trust working on this, but your Member of Parliament, the Honorable Shahini Robinson, and myself, we have steadfastly been addressing the issues that are affecting the final development of the project. We're now working through all the details, as we are committed to the relocation of the occupants who are on the lands on which the remains of the Garvey's boyhood home lies. We are dedicated to the task to continue to honor his legacy in that way. This development will be supported by public education on the life of young Garvey, intertwined with the history of St. Anne's Bay, which will form the backdrop of this transformative man. The boyhood home of the Right Excellent Marcus Messiah Garvey will create a live museum with household furniture and other exhibits used during the period Garvey resided there. It will show how he ate, where he slept, and how it evolved into present day. The research is ongoing. It will also retain the period design of the main house in which he lived, as well as allow for fully functional spaces to be used by members of the community. Additionally, this Marcus Garvey Museum must and will provide opportunities for the community. For example, we see the opportunities for entrepreneurs and operators of places of interest as we move to establish a walking tour of the community. The design will retain large tress and stone steps as part of the heritage and will include the main house and butchery, gazebo, walkway, ramps, and green areas. The work will also include supporting infrastructure for utilities, stormwater, and sewage. Ladies and gentlemen, I know today the occupants are present here. I don't know if they're all here, but I know Mitzi and others. Good. And I just want to say to them that Prime Minister Bruce Golding made a commitment to ensure that you were given assistance in your relocation. You are now the owners of the land, but we are still committed. Your Member of Parliament and me as Minister, we are still committed to relocating you. But we are also asking you for your commitment to work with us to ensure that your relocation can be expedited so that we can begin the development of the property. We have your commitment. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've said a lot today. So, I will be wrapping up my comments. If we as a people realize the greatness from which we came, we would be less likely to disrespect ourselves. A people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots. The words of Marcus Messiah Garvey. Think of these things. God bless you all, my brothers and sisters. One love, one heart, one destiny. I thank you.